Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Here in Edmonton, we're heading for a high of 28 and a beautiful sunny day, and it's going to be bloody hot. So I'm going to be enjoying this weather as long as it's around. So wherever you guys are, I hope if it's raining, you're dry. If it's warm, you've got air conditioning, and you're looking after yourselves and one another. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be doing another segment of In the Spotlight. Now, this is, I guess, a type of series where I would like to feature albums from artists that maybe you really didn't know about or have heard and forgot about, and albums that maybe didn't make much of an impact in terms of sales, or just basically went under the radar and you really didn't know about it. But that's why I'm here. um, in this episode, I'm going to be, focusing on a Canadian artist, keyboard slash multi instrumentalist from the band Saga. His name is Jim Gilmour. Now, just a bit about Saga. Saga are a Canadian band from Toronto, Ontario, uh, classified as a neo-prog band. They started out under the name Pockets. They quickly changed their name to Saga. They formed in 1974. They had their debut release in 1978, self-titled through Polydor Records, first album, and the self-titled and second album, Images at Twilight, was released through Polydor in Canada. They had two subsequent players prior to Jim Gilmour joining. Peter Rochon, who was one of the co-founding members of the band, who left just after the release of the debut album. After Peter Rochon, they had Greg Chad, who was with them for the Images at Twilight sessions and tour, and then he was replaced by Jim Gilmour, who came in 1980 and helped recorded their third album, as they recorded third album, Silent Night, featuring the tracks Don't Be Late, Careful Where You Step, What's It Gonna Be Tonight. Jim would stay with the band until present day. Saga, unfortunately, are a band that have not found mainstream success in the US. They they are huge in Germany and in Europe. Unfortunately, in the US, their mainstream success was short lived. They released their fourth album, Worlds Apart, in 1981, featuring the hits On the Loose, Wind 'Em Up, and Time's Up, I believe, was another single. But after Worlds Apart, they basically fell off the US charts and never charted again to any great success. Jim Gilmour, along with Steve Negus, left Saga in the mid 80s, around 1985, after their album Behavior and their tour, due to concerns over management direction. Steve Negus and Jim Gilmour formed a group called GNP. They released one album self-titled through Virgin Records, and for those of you who would be interested, GNP, the CD, will be reissued on July 14th of this year in a remastered form containing one extra track on the album. I believe the track is Safety Zone. There's an extended version of the track Safety Zone on the GNP album. Getting back to Jim Gilmour, he and Steve Negus, rejoined Saga Steve Angus left in 2003, retired. Jim Gilmour's been with the band ever since. Now, in 2005, Jim Gilmour had some time, and he was contributing some keyboard tracks to another music project that he was asked to work on. He booked some studio time because he wanted to put down some melodies he had in his head, some keyboard ideas. So he did so. Out came this album called Great Escape. Now, Great Escape was released in 2005 on Prog Rock Records, produced by Jim Gilmour. The album has 10 tracks, and it's split down the middle as 5 tracks are instrumental and 5 tracks are with vocals. Jim Gilmour provides vocals on all the tracks. In terms of Jim Gilmour's vocal style, he has a very soft touch in terms of his uh, vocal delivery. Not that he doesn't sing hard or doesn't come in full force on his vocal range, but he sings in a higher register compared to Michael Sadler from Saga. So the two of them combining vocal harmonies together work beautifully because Michael Sadler can usually go for the lower register, whereas Jim will be on the higher register. This album in particular, again, he provides all the vocals on all 5 tracks that do have vocals. The album itself does lean more towards the prog rock arena in terms of composition, because the band Saga were known as a neo prog band, and they did have uh, prog arrangements, and I guess you could say prog tendencies in terms of their compositions. The songs weren't of your typical prog ilk in that they were not 20-minute epic suites. But in terms of composition and intricacy and delivery, they fit right in. They fit right in. Now, this album, Great Escape, again, fits into that realm quite well. The again, there are 10 songs, and uh, the the piano does feature quite prominently on this album. You know, given the fact that Jim Gilmour is primarily a keyboardist, but the primary instrument that is featured on this album, front and center, is the piano/keyboards, and he does so beautifully. I mean, I'll go through some tracks with you. The first track, No Sign, as I sit up and straighten out my back here. No Sign has, a nice piano and mellotron work. He does a lot of work with mellotron or mellotron effects. I mean, he does use it quite prominently and quite well, actually. And the mellotron gives these tracks a very atmospheric feel, very sort of, there's a lot of breadth and scope on these tracks due to the use of mellotron. But again, back to the tracks. No Sign, track 1. And again, the album was produced by Jim Gilmour. A lot of, again, nice use of piano and mellotron work. Great guitar soloing on this album. The track has a very futuristic feel to it. I mean, it could be used as the instrumental sections could be used as theme music for a Mission Impossible movie. Like, really, like there's no difference, and I don't know why he didn't put this track, especially in for submission, to be considered to be used on any on a film. It could be used, no problem. Yeah. Next track, the instrumental Algonquin, is basically there's a lot of keyboard work on here. Fantastic atmospheric keyboards on this track. Very sort of thick layer textured keyboards that are used. And it's a very dramatic piece of music. You know. Next track is called Lost Along the Way, which has vocals. And it's funny. It's like when I hear this track, it's like I feel like I'm sitting. It's like you feel like you're sitting like around a campfire and you're listening to somebody tell you stories of legends past. Like in like 2 or 3 centuries before now. You know what I mean? Like you're traveling back in time, and he has Jim Gilmour. I mean, you know, like Gordon Lightfoot has, I mean, totally different vocal styles. I mean, Gordon Lightfoot was a baritone, you know, but Jim Gilmour has that sort of storytelling kind of a vocal ability, that vocal feel, like you're basically taken away on an adventure when you listen to him sing. And you're lost in I get lost in his vocals. I get pulled out of myself, and I'm, lost in the music, which is great. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. Um, Next up is another instrumental called Killarney Sunrise. And there's a lot of sweeping piano runs on this track, very grand piano chords and sequences that he does. Just like he's all over the key. He's all over the keys on these tracks, every single one of them. But especially for me, my opinion on Killarney Sunrise. The North Wind is the next track. It's a very dramatic and again another storytelling piece of work. Lovely haunting piano passages and haunting background vocals on this track. It's great. Next track is called Radiant Lake. Fantastic rhythm, and the piano and synths that come in, they almost have like a jazz fusion kind of a feel. Very sort of snappy kind of, but also it has that jazz feel to it, you know. Pardon Isle is another instrumental that is a great and great example of sweeping piano runs that he does on this. The track number 9 is Can You Do It? But can you is spelled canoe, 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 canoe. But again, it's a full-on rocker, ninth synth, and nice synth passages. What I like about this song is when the synths come in, they play another melody. It's almost like they're playing a totally different piece of music within the track itself. So it's like a good counterpoint that he's got going on, And as I look at my notes again here, the last track that he does on the album is called Last Portage. And it clocks in at 13 minutes and change. Okay. As we're talking about sprawling epics, but it's the longest track in the album. It's a nice fast-paced rocker again. Great intricate piano lines on this. Again, the piano is featured quite prominently on this album, and quite rightfully so. Quite rightfully so. Sorry, it's been one of those mornings, guys. I'm sorry. And yeah, it's great. And the use of organ on this album, and especially on this track, unreal. I think the organ is an instrument that I think should be featured a lot more on in music, but that's just me. The track does end at around 6 minutes 44 seconds, and then there's a gap, and then at 8 minutes and 12 seconds, the piano kicks in, and it's just him instrumentally on acoustic piano, like on grand piano, and he's basically doing these sweeping piano chords and these piano runs up and down the keyboard. And I mean, it's just something that he wanted to tack on, I would imagine, at the end of the track. And for those of you who will want to wait that minute and change to get to this track, it's well worth it. But yeah, this album is, to me, it just sounds like it was a labor of love that he wanted to do. Jim Gilmour had another album under the name of James Gerard Gilmour called Instrumental Encounters, that was released in 1996. I have that album. It is fantastic. It isn't, there aren't any long epic tracks on that album, but the tracks that are there are like around the 4 minute plus mark. Just him on piano and keyboards, and just fantastic sprawling pieces of work, just beautiful, textured, layered, almost atmospheric tracks. This album, Great Escape, was more of a prog rock oriented album. But again, I like the fact that half the tracks are instrumental and the other half have vocals. So you have a good mixture there. So please check out this album, Great Escape. It is on Amazon to buy. It is also on Discogs. You can get it on Discogs for a lot cheaper, for like around $6.49. You can even check it out on YouTube, streaming it, or you can get it on eBay. It's unfortunate that there are albums like this out there that don't get enough notice and enough praise, if you will, because they deserve your attention and your respect. So please check this album out. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. And please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. I'm going to be recording a couple of more episodes today to be aired next week. So when you see this and when you see the other episodes, it'll be next week already. So it'll be July. So time flies by really quickly. So I hope you guys having a great day and you're looking after yourselves again and one another. And I will be back again with your patience and support. I will be back next week. Have a good day and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.